Hey, this is Mick Burgess, and I'm joined backstage at the Queen Vic in South Shields with Steve Conte. Steve, how are you doing?
I am fine and fabulous. How are you?
Doing very well, thank you. You're over in the UK on tour. You've been over on tour for a couple of days now. How have they been going so far?
Great. We had a sold-out show in London on 3 nights ago. I guess it was Wednesday, the 8th. Great gig at the Slaughtered Lamb. I had some special guests, Jim Jones from the Review and the Hypnotics and all. He did a song with us, and so did Duncan Reid from The Boys, and Edward Tudor-Pole.
Temple Shooter,
yeah. He came up the last minute. He was watching the show the whole time and didn't know I was going to call on him. And I saw him out there, and I said, "Come on!" And he so enjoyed it because he didn't want to. You know, he was glad that he didn't have to think the whole time about going up on stage. He said I could fully enjoy the show without thinking about what I was going to do on stage or anything. And I just said, "Come on up. What do you want to do?" And we did Roll Over Beethoven.
All right.
A completely mad version.
So you didn't do Swords of a Thousand Men?
No.
So what sort of set list have you got together for these shows? I mean, are you looking mainly at your own solo work? Are you going to pop in a couple of New York Dolls? Or is it
a bit of everything. I got. I'm doing stuff from my Steve Conte NYC album. Some from The Crazy Truth, which I put out in 2009. Those are 2 original albums, and then my covers album, which came out 2 years ago, International Cover Up, which is some of my favorite cover songs, done my own way. And then I got a couple of new covers that aren't on any. I just felt like doing them. Yeah. And then I may have a surprise or two.
What about Company of Wolves? Have you got space for anything?
There might be one of those in there.
So are you still in touch with Keith from Company of Wolves?
Yeah, we in fact we did a Company of Wolves reunion last year, which was a blast. And it might be too soon to talk about it, but there's a possibility. I have a contract that the album's going to be re-released by a label over here. I'll say that much, but I won't say what label.
Possibly new material at some point?
Well, it's going to be the first album re-released with some bonus tracks.
All right, because you've got such a cool voice, such a great voice. It's a shame not to hear it, really.
Yeah, and we've been friends, and you know we've been writing other songs together, and we write great together, Keith and I. So, and we remain friends all these years. So it's not like, you know, the band didn't break up out of any animosity or anything. It was like Seattle happened, and. That's kind of what happened to the band. It was like the record companies didn't want to know about a rock and roll band. You know, they wanted everything had to be, heroin, addled, long-haired, bearded, flannel shirt wearing, short pant wearing, Dr. Martin wearing dudes from Seattle.
The love of that music didn't die, though. You know, I think you can like both.
Now you can, and there's a shortage of rock and roll in general out there. So anybody who's doing it, you know, big respect.
Back to your current tour. Who have you got in your band with you?
I have 2 Dutch guys in the band that I met when I lived over in the Netherlands. Jeroen Polderman on drums and Jan Verdorn on bass. And they're great. Great guys.
So it's a classic 3-piece.
Yeah. Power trio.
So you're doing all the vocals of...
Yeah, and both guys sing as well. So, you know.
Oh, good. Good.
Or shout.
Gang vocals. Yeah.
Exactly.
So how long have you been together as a unit then?
Jeroen and I, the drummer, have been playing together since 2010, since I moved over there. We had another bass player for my first couple tours here in England. And we've also toured in Holland and Belgium and France. And then that bass player left probably around 2013, and Jan joined the band about 4 or 5 years ago.
The most recent release is the Gimme Gimme Rockaway single.
Yeah.
It's got an absolute classic Ramones feel to it, not only in the title, stylistically as well. What's the story behind that song?
I had the music kicking around for a while, and I was going to present it to Michael Monroe. When I wrote it while we were writing a batch of songs for Michael, Rich Jones and I, the other guitar player. And I went, this one's really for me. So I held that one back. I didn't have a title for it. I just had the music and the melody. I batted around titles and lyrics for like the longest time. Just one day, it just came to me, Rockaway. It just felt right, and I just started thinking about all the great shows I've seen in New York and on the East Coast, and the lyrics is just like an homage to where I grew up on the East Coast of the U.S. You know.
Has Michael heard it yet?
Yeah, Michael heard it.
Is he saying, why didn't you give this to me?
No.
Is he annoyed?
He wouldn't. He wouldn't, but he might have thought it.
Yeah. Because you had Clem Burke on the drums as well, didn't
Yeah,
you?
Clem Burke from Blondie on drums,
Yeah.
and Andy Rourke from the Smiths on bass.
So how'd you get Clem involved?
I've known Clem since I joined the Dolls, I guess. And I used to play with his other buddy from Blondie, Jimmy Destry, years ago.
Keyboardist, yeah.
But I met Clem. Clem started coming to the new Dolls shows, and he really appreciated my playing. So we became friends. And I just called him up. I said, "Hey, little Steven Van Zandt has signed me to his label. I'm doing a single. You want to do it?" And he said, "Yeah, sure." I think I got him for the 2 days he was home from Blondie tour. They were just done touring over here, and then he had a little break, and he was going to Los Angeles, and I got him in, and Andy Rourke as well. And when those guys left, I said, "Thanks, guys," and it was great. We cut it live, and then I overdubbed the other guitars and tambourines and hand claps, and Jesse Mellon, my friend
from
New York, also sang backgrounds with me. And then I realized, little Steven had signed me to a single deal, 2-side. A side and a B side. It was like, oh shit, they left, and I didn't even realize that. I'd forgotten that I was supposed to record a B side, and so that's when I said, well, I've always done Mercedes-Benz. Let me see. Is there a drummer in the house? I yelled it because it's attached. Little Steven's studio is attached to his office, Renegade Nation, where he does all his work for the Underground Garage radio station and the label. And just so happens, a guy who was working at a desk goes, "I'm a drummer." I said, "Come on in here," and I ran through the song with him. He played pretty good, and we cut it.
And was that his first recording experience?
I don't know. It might have been his first record.
Yeah.
I'm sure
What was it
he's
called?
recorded. His name is Jeremy Tufano.
Right.
Nice Italian boy.
Yeah.
And I played bass myself on it. Mercedes-Benz we're talking about now, the B-side. And then I got Jesse to sing a verse with me, and he sings with me, so it's kind of a duet.
So how far are you down the line with your new solo album?
I'm always writing and stockpiling material, and in fact, there's probably a couple of songs on here that were originally intended for Monroe that are too good to not put out, so I'm going to do them myself.
I'm going to say too good to give to him.
No, actually, Rockaway was one that I wanted to hold back for myself, but I think there are two that I actually presented, and they didn't fit with the rest of the material, so fine, I'll keep them myself. Yeah. But I don't have a title or anything for the album, but it's going to be somewhere in between kind of the Rockaway, Gimme Gimme Rockaway sound and that sort of, up-tempo, happy, punky rock and roll.
Back to your album, because your Steve Conte NYC album was done through Pledge Music.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about doing?
Yeah, I'm going to do another Pledge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get enough to talk about on a video,
Yeah.
because I don't know who's going to play on it yet. I don't know who's going to produce it. Usually see people doing their things like, yeah, we're going to get this guest and that guest, and it features this one, and this guy's going to produce it. I don't know anything yet. Yeah. I just know that I have the songs. Maybe that's enough.
So what was your most popular perk then that you had on your last campaign?
Oh, you mean the extras?
Mm-hmm.
I did 4 custom recorded songs where people could order along with the. I might have given them a CD with it. I don't remember, but they could request that I record a certain song, and I would do an acoustic version of it. But a lot of times I just ended up doing acoustic guitar and like a drum loop, like a sample. And I did like an Al Green song, and I did, someone wanted Suicide Twins, which was Nasty and Andy from Hanoi Rocks.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I did one of their songs for a Finnish guy. Did an Al Green song for an American girl I know. What else did I do? Do you know Peter Case? What was the band? Plimsolls.
All right.
I did a Plimsolls song, A Million Miles Away. Some guy paid me to record a version of his original song. And luckily, it was a good song.
Yeah.
I didn't want to advertise, I'll record your original crap song.
But it was a good one.
But it was luckily a good one, and I knew the guy too.
I bet you were pretty relieved, really.
So that was a good perk.
We mentioned Michael Monroe. I mean, what's the latest with him? And
we have a new album.
Yep.
It's done, not mixed, but we recorded 18 songs. We'll put 12 out sometime next year.
So this will be the first album you've done with the same guitarist that did the previous album.
Very observant of you. Yes. Yeah, we seem to have had a revolving door. Well, actually, we did 2 with Ginger, to be fair, but not.
Oh, you did the live album.
The first one was the live album of sort of Michael's greatest, solo hits.
So how has it been, sort of writing and recording with different guitarists each time? Is it just added a little bit of extra edge to it?
Yeah, each one was really different. Ginger was very heavy-handed with, his ideas, and I wasn't around for a lot of that, so a lot of those songs were already written by Ginger when I got there, and he's really creative and great. Doesn't need much help in the songwriting area. Dragan, when we did Horns and Halos, Dragan came up with a lot of riffs, and Sammy comes up with a lot of riffs. Generally, Sammy doesn't write much lyrics. Dragan might write lyrics because he did a solo album, but he didn't really bring anything for that record, so I ended up writing all the lyrics and all the melodies to the Horns and Halos album.
Tell you what, the chorus of that is an absolute killer. Is absolute
Which
killer.
one?
Horns and Halos.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was Dragan's title, actually, Horns and Halos, but yeah, I wrote the lyrics to those, and but Battle of the Lower East Side was 100% my song, and there was a few others that I brought in complete. Stained Glass Heart was another one me and Dragan wrote, and Childhood Revolution as well. And then with Rich, Rich writes, he finishes complete songs like I do. So for Blackout States, Rich brought in a couple completed ones, I brought in a couple completed ones, and we co-wrote a bunch as well. And I think there was a Michael song or two and a Sammy song as well.
Just a couple of questions on your pre-Michael Monroe involvement with the New York Dolls. You had the daunting task of filling the shoes of Johnny Thunders. I mean, how did you prepare for that when you first joined?
Well, luckily, I didn't think it was such a daunting task because I wasn't a Johnny Thunders disciple or even a fan. I had known about the Dolls. Like I think I had when we were on Mercury with Company of Wolves. They would always invite us in to raid the closet, of CDs. And as it turns out, actually, the Dolls, Michael Monroe, and Company of Wolves were all on Mercury Records. And I believe Grant Parker had a nice song about them. Do you remember?
Grant Parker.
Mercury Poisoning.
All right.
So all 3 of us didn't do so well on Mercury. But I pulled, I believe it was Too Much Too Soon, and so I had that in my collection for a while. And when I was a kid, Billy Murcia, the original drummer of the Dolls, his family moved to my town. I grew up in New Jersey, about an hour south of Manhattan. And this guy, Alphonse Murcia, he would see me walking around town because I was 15 or something. I didn't have a car yet. He'd go, "Hey, man, you know who you look like?" I say, "Who?" "Johnny Thunders." I was like, "Who's Johnny Thunders?" So he brought all the records to my house when I was a kid. And he played me like Criminals, Sill's Band, and Heartbreakers, and Dolls, and who knew? 20 years later, I'd get the phone call. So I was familiar with it, but I wasn't a fan of Thunders like that because I wanted to be Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page and Jimi Hendrix. I wanted to be a player, real player's player. So, but when I met with David Joe and he started asking around New York, I'm going to put the Dolls back together. Who should I call? He asked a couple of respected guitar players, and they said, "We're only going to give you one name, Steve Conte." And they said he's got the right guitars, he looks right, he's got the big nose, big hair, plays Les Paul, he plays Gibsons, So David thought it was a good idea to meet with me, so he met with me, and we had lunch, and at the end he handed me an envelope. He said, "What do you think? You want to do this?" Handed me an envelope with some CDs of Doll stuff and girl groups and all kinds of stuff, and he had like lyric sheets, and I said, "Yeah, let's do it." It was supposed to be one show at the Royal Festival Hall, which turned into 2 shows there with Arthur Killicane.
That was Morrissey organised that, didn't he?
It was at Morrissey's behest, if that's the right word, that David put the band back together. I guess people had been asking for years, decades, 30 years they haven't played.
Did you do most of your writing with David, or was still in there as well?
Yeah, me and David wrote. I would just give David demos of my songs, and he would change the words. Basically, he'd use my melodies and phrasing and make up his own words to. I think "Punishing World" was called "Starving for Love" at first, and he changed it in the best way.
Yeah.
He's a brilliant lyric writer. And I think "Take a Good Look at My Good Looks" was the three of us. David and Sil had written the verse. We were jamming on that main riff and at a rehearsal or a sound check, and then I added the bridge. Tommy was me and David. Yeah, then from the next album, "Because I Said So," "This Is Ridiculous." That was a really fast blues song that I had. It was almost like "Baby, Please Don't Go," I don't know, like the Van Morrison, Them version of that song. But David said, "Let's slow it down." So that became that. "This Is Ridiculous," and what was the other one? "Oh, Better Than You."
Well, Steve, it's been an absolute pleasure. Best luck with the show tonight.
Thank you so much, my friend.